Families are complicated. Sometimes they support you, and other times they let you down so hard you forget why you liked them in the first place. And Kyousougiga is probably one of the best anime out there to explore the concept of family. What I find most fascinating about Kyousougiga is that practically every member of the show's main family has been deeply affected by said family, or more importantly the lack of said family, and its drama in distinctive ways. Take the three main siblings for example. While they seem to maintain the appearance of functioning adults, each of them has a particular personality fault that severely impacts their relationship with each other and other people in general. Despite being born second, Kurama is given the title of older brother by his father, and thus more responsibility is put upon him. So, when his parents disappear, he takes it upon himself to take charge of Looking Glass City and its inhabitants. Though it appears as though all the siblings hold equal power on the Council of Three, the body that governs the city, Yase points out that Kurama just does whatever he thinks is right, as part of his drive to be the oldest sibling and look out for everyone in the city. However, in his desire to make things as good as they can possibly be, he ends up neglecting those he should be looking out for the most, his own siblings. He throws away Yase's stuffed bunny, a toy gifted to her by her mother, in an attempt to bring their parents back. And he seems mostly indifferent and even a bit annoyed when Yase falls into a depression. It isn't until the world is about to be destroyed that he realizes his duties not just as a leader, but also as an older brother, and gives Yakushimaru the motivation he needs to set things right. Something that he probably could have done from the beginning if he hadn't been left alone to figure out how he's supposed to act as an older brother. Yase's struggles also end up isolating her from her siblings, but in a much different way. As the sibling who is portrayed as having the most attachment to her parents, her mother in particular, their sudden departure had an immediate negative effect on her. This is brought to the forefront in episode 4 when the teacup she kept in memory of her mother is accidentally thrown away, and she becomes inconsolable for nearly the entire episode. This obsessive attachment to her mother had been previously exacerbated by Kurama throwing away the stuffed bunny, thus further splintering the relationship amongst the siblings. And with no one to console her, Yase simply decided to live on her own far outside Looking Glass City, isolating herself from anything that could cause her pain. Then we have Yakushimaru, the quote-unquote youngest sibling who seems to have the least agency out of all the characters. Brought back to life without permission, bestowed the role of priest against his will, and given the task of looking after Koto, A, and Un despite the strain they put on him. With all the avenues towards what he might want to do with his life seemingly blocked off by responsibilities he didn't ask for, he ends up ignoring many of these responsibilities, often skipping out on council meetings and lashing out at those who irritate him, even in small amounts. Despite this, through being around Koto and the positive energy she exudes, you can see a slow but gradual change occur in Yakushimaru. Through repeated exposure to his newfound younger sister, he starts to warm up to her. And as the series ramps up towards its climax, he starts to take on more and more responsibilities as his father had intended, beginning with Koto and her well-being and ending with the entire universe. Even the parents themselves have their own hang-ups, especially Inari. Near the end of the series, it's revealed that Inari and the chief priest are both gods, the sons of an elder god who created them and then left them alone to maintain balance in the universe. Because he was never given a clear purpose or direction to point his life in like his brother was, Inari was never able to fully develop into a stable individual. Even his wife describes him as being like a child and having no self-control, as though he hasn't learned how to be a responsible adult. This behavior, combined with his godly powers, leads to what is essentially a subdued yet clearly psychotic tantrum where he tries to destroy all planes of existence. It's only through the intervention of Koto and Yakushimaru, his own children, that he's finally able to come to his senses. And then there's Koto, the young daughter of Inari, who, despite her propensity for chaos and destruction, is relatively normal. As in, relative to her other siblings. Yes, she breaks things and argues a lot, but she's still a child physically, only 14 years old, and children do those sorts of things. Moreover, she doesn't share the deep-seated neuroses and blatant personality faults of her siblings because, comparatively, her upbringing was more stable. She had a father who loved and raised her with care until she decided to leave on her own in search of her mother because she believes it will bring happiness to both herself and her father. Granted, her father was not much of an adult himself, but merely having his presence there was enough to set her emotional development apart from her siblings. She also has a much less hostile relationship with her siblings than said siblings have with each other. While a lot of this stems from Koto just not being around them as long and not really understanding the drama amongst them, it also has to do with her more amiable nature. She doesn't have deeply rooted attachment issues or problems handling authority, and so she can talk to people in all manner of positions normally. Koto is a well-adjusted, mentally stable young girl. That doesn't mean she's totally free from her own problems, though. This is especially true when Looking Glass City begins to fall apart and her father reveals that it was smashing her way into the city that initiated this destruction. And the situation is made even worse by how her father shows no interest in comforting her after this realization. While she is able to rally back from this, she ends up falling victim to her father's powers, forced against her will to bring about destruction. However, unlike her siblings, Koto has someone who is willing to protect her properly and guide her down the right path. But it's not her parents, who have now become both emotionally and physically unavailable. This time, it's Yakushimaru, who has finally started to get over his own hang-ups and realize his responsibilities as both an adult and a leader to those around him. It's through his own words as an older brother that Koto is able to come back to her senses and figure out how to save the city. At its heart, through all the crazy interplanar convergences and complex web of gods and Buddhas, Kyousougiga is a story about family. It's about how the negative guidance, or lack of guidance in general, from those who are supposed to look out for us can have a lasting, harmful impression on who we are as people. But it's also about having people to fall back on when this occurs, and how you can overcome a painful legacy within your own family. This video topic was selected by my patrons. As part of my Break the Backlog tier, those who pledge $3 or more will have access to a monthly poll in which they get to vote on what shows from my backlog I will make a video about in the following month. So check out the link in the description below to further support my videos. Special thanks to Jan Rogalski, Rourketon Joing, Christine Seibert, Call Me Catlord, Ember's Fave Roommate, Eugenio Mendoza, and all my other patrons for their generous support. My name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.